Perfect. So I'm going to just talk about what's going on in our industry. I am the Director of ISAC Operations for MM-ISAC. That's the Mining and Metals Information Sharing Analysis Center. We're a group of mining and metals companies, as well as a couple of vendors now, that get together, share information, and solve problems. Later, I'm going to bring in Rob at the very end to share a little bit about our new program that we've just launched. So we have three main programs, three main purposes. It's to share threat information, and we do that through our partners at Perch. We share threat intel, human readable threat intel through Slack. And we also discuss lessons learned and what we are seeing in mining in our members' meetings. We also collaborate with GMG for operational technology research. AHS security is our main ongoing project, and we work with security vendors like IOActive and others that I can't yet mention, but we're engaging to continue that good research that they're doing. And then we have a new program to add to our list of programs is our supply chain resilience. What we saw a couple years ago was attacks coming in through our supply chain. And a lot of our vendors were being targeted for an attack where the main where they were basically used as bait for larger organizations that depended on those smaller firms. So let's take a look at what's going on in mining. This is information gathered from our sensor network. We have sensors at most of our members' companies, and these are the types of alerts we're seeing in mining. Now, a lot of ISACs, there are different industry ISACs, will say that their industry is different, and then when it comes down to it, security is security, until they met the mining industry. So the mining industry is definitely different than other industries. You can see by our alerts, we are pretty permissive on policies. We allow applications in our environment that other industries will not allow, such as Go to My PC or TeamViewer. Applications that people will use in conjunction with work is allowed in a lot of mine sites, whereas if you were discussing like the financial industry or the health industry, they would not allow it. Hunting is another big one. So we're trying to learn more about ourselves, but the attackers are as well. So hunting is basically people scanning our networks to see what they can learn. Malware, we have less malware than other industries and a lot more customized exploits. Just to give you an example, or for frame of reference, this is what the rest of the world looks like as far as alerting goes. It's heavy on the malware and very light on the hunting and fewer exploits. So I'm going to discuss a couple of real live recent incidents that we got to work with. A company reported to us an investigation on Evilcorp. This company was based in Canada. This wasn't their first attempt. I believe it might have been the 5th attempt that they've noticed from this threat actor group. And they've shared with us some IOCs, and we were able to identify a second mining company that was also being targeted by this group. So a little bit about Evilcorp. If you want to know what a hacker looks like, this guy's one of the biggest and baddest. He's got $100 million bounty on his head. So if you catch this guy, you can also own a Lamborghini. So their tactics, why are they targeting us? So what we've noticed with Evilcorp and their targeting is that target the people that they think they can get the biggest payouts from. A recent and highly notable target, very public attack was the Garmin attack. And the reason why Garmin caved to the pressure of paying the ransom was because the customers just swarmed Twitter and applied additional pressure. When we're looking at government and healthcare, manufacturing and mining, a lot of the corporate communications that are high profile, where there's high stakes, where there is an increased possibility of outside influence, influencing their decision of whether or not they are forced to pay, definitely increases their likelihood of active pursuit by this threat actor. Their delivery is mass phishing campaigns. A lot of them are fairly generic, and if they get a couple hits, they will.
So as Cherie was saying, they are targeting mining industry, and they're really targeting groups that have that they can have additional pressure to help pay that ransom. Like Cherie said, in Garmin's case, it was affecting ships' abilities to file sale plans, airplanes' abilities to file flight plans, so it had a pretty big impact. Our role, the ISAC and Cherie's role in that was to assist with intelligence, so to gather information from partners, from government partners, open source security vendors, and share that, as well as to share what was happening with other members so that other members could identify early stage attacks from this group. And we were successful in identifying an initial attempt at a second member, and they were able to block that early, so they didn't have to deal with the fallout going from that. The other item Cherie wanted to talk about was Emotet, which is a malware family that is often used, we're seeing in many attacks in mining. Dozens of attacks in the mining industry overall. And it is one of these things that is used post-exploitation. So after the phishing attack that the folks that we heard from Hudbay, they will install Emotet or other malware and use existing vulnerabilities, use network shares to go through and steal data.
Rob,
they have come back with updated tactics. You can move on, Rob. Next slide. This graphic was just put out a couple weeks ago by the government of Japan. As you can see, early September, huge spikes in Emotet in Japan. And New Zealand and France also put out warnings that they've seen a massive increase in Emotet. Next slide. So a little bit about Emotet. It is a banking Trojan that's been around since 2014. It is evolving because it can actually update itself. It communicates with its C2 server. And as of February, we learned that it is capable of spreading across Wi-Fi networks, which to me is terrifying if you think of all the times that you connect your devices to public Wi-Fis, and is capable of exfiltrating data. A trend in ransomware recently is that not only will they lock up your system with encryption, but also exfiltrate data to extort you, to increase the possibility of payment. If you don't pay the ransomware for encryption, they will also leak your data, so it's now public. The delivery for this is initially phishing, but because it spreads like a worm, it will spread across networks, spread across Wi-Fi networks, your regular networks. It'll infect anything that has a Windows, Linux operating system. And so you also have to be careful of your OT. And it may be brought in from a third party, a contractor, a visitor. And we last observed this in MM-ISAC on September 17th. And so that was just last week. We got to see Emotet live and in action. Now, detecting this goes back to, because it evades antivirus, your traditional antivirus. The only way to detect this is through behavior. And just like Roland described earlier, you can't see the behavior unless you have visibility. And we use threat intelligence to detect it and to confirm that it is actually Emotet that we're dealing with and to track it along the system. And this one was pretty interesting. We had a more hands-on experience with this where we got to detect it and help the IT teams kick out the devices that were infected. Rather than playing like whack-a-mole in scenarios where this thing keeps popping up, it was sort of more like cat and mouse, where we were able to control the communications and predict where we were going to see it next. And so that was fairly interesting. Next slide is.
Oh, sorry.
Perfect. So what you can do about it, I'm actually not going to go over a lot of these things because previous discussions actually covered a lot of the cybersecurity awareness. A couple things that I do want to highlight are know your external corporate communications. Whatever you are sharing to the world with your investors, you are also sharing with the attackers, and they are watching. They're trying to learn more about this industry specifically. And multi-factor authentication. I think the mining industry does a really good job with technical controls. That's why we see less malware than other industries. But I think that multi-factor authentication, if you're not using it, you should be. And vendor security management, a lot of our threats actually do come inside from our vendors. And Rob's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Perfect. Thanks, Cherie. So when we look at new program we're launching with our members in the industry overall, directly out of a joint working group that GMG and MM-ISAC has for vendor security management, kind of the first outcome of that that came clear is the MM-ISAC Supply Chain Resilience Program. Essentially what it involves is MM-ISAC, along with our partners at Security Scorecard, are doing daily monitoring of all the major and some minor supply chain vendors for the industry. We're monitoring them daily for what we can see externally from their networks. So what information, what security indicators are available on the internet. We're all spewing information to the internet every day. The bad guys are scanning our networks every day to look for vulnerabilities. So we're also scanning our own members as well as common vendors to see what our attackers see and see what the bad guys see we can glean. Those reports we make available to all MM-ISAC members. And we have a program that's available for membership for supply chain vendors so they can participate in it more actively, either as participants or fully join the MM-ISAC to participate in the incident response and intelligence work that helps support what Cherie did earlier. Right now, we are monitoring 20 companies, 20 vendors. I have pulled out names, but we can see out of the 20, what are the common security vulnerabilities seen outside, and we can see how those companies are trending. You'll notice on average, it's a B, but we can see there's 3 companies that are at below 60 out of 100 and getting worse, and a couple getting worse. Lots in the middle, but you'll notice the trend is, unfortunately, most of the vendors are actually declining in terms of security posture as opposed to improving, which is the opposite direction you want to get. A good example of one of our vendors, very common, one in the manufacturing industry, we can sort of see where are they doing well, where are they doing poorly. Again, from an external view, some of these, like network security issues, will have an impact directly on potentially customers. Others sort of speak to how they're doing overall on patching and otherwise, and we can sort of see how this particular vendor, and I have blocked out their name, is doing compared to the rest of the industry. From there, we do actually track sort of detailed reports on, why is network security poor, why is DNS poor, what are the missing patches we can see from outside, and what are the positive things. Because this is all public information, things that are gleaned from what's visible outside, this sort of information is available, like I said, to attackers, and we collect it for members so that members can understand the risks that their supply chain poses. Now, along with that, there is opportunity to participate. If you participate, we add to that a questionnaire. As many of you know, a lot of mining companies will send security questionnaires every year or occasionally to do. This provides an opportunity for a centralization of that activity. So we've developed central questionnaires. We'll send them once a year from the ISAC, and all ISAC members can then request access to those questionnaires. So as a vendor, you only have to do the exercise once, as well as our members benefit from the questionnaire being completed once and being tracked and having some analysis done. One of the main big controls here, though, is if a member requests a questionnaire result, the vendor has to approve that release before it goes to that member, so that, as a vendor, you know who's asking for your questionnaire results and who has access to that. Now, while we are doing the scanning for our members, if you choose to participate in the program, as a vendor, it adds some extra assistance for you. If you participate, we'll give you full access to your report and the ability to tune it. So you can see the detailed problems, you can record your remediation steps, so that all of the members that get the report can see what you're doing to resolve the issues. And you can update and provide explanations. Perhaps you have a guest Wi-Fi network and that's the one that's causing the problems. You can actually request and exclude that guest Wi-Fi from the reporting, so that your guests aren't tarnishing your reputation. As I said, if you're a member, if you participate, we'll send the questionnaire to you and take care of distributing that. And one of the commitments we ask then in return is responsible disclosure. So if you have a security issue, work with MM-ISAC and we'll work with you to help share that security issue, remediation steps, etc., with our members, so you can control that message as opposed to it leaking out, and we can help you facilitate that. We're also now opening full MM-ISAC membership to the vendor community. That will allow you to participate in the sensor network. It gives you access to start getting that data and the security scorecard results for your vendors further down the supply chain, and to start managing that, as well as full participation in our intelligence sharing, incident response assistance. We can take over, Cherie's group can take over monitoring your security scorecard and letting you know if major problems appear on some days, so that you can be more aware of it. All of those types of work that we're doing for operators can then be extended and be available for you as part of our supply chain as well. That will help significantly where we have incidents that start in the supply chain and spread to members, so that we can get on top of those nice and quick and help prevent even vendors getting compromised from operators to allow moving to other operators that way. Cost-wise, to participate, it starts at $5,000 a year, and that covers our costs to do the questionnaire, to do the assessments. as well as to help manage your scorecard for you and allow you to interactively participate. And then full membership is the same as it is for our operators, which is $25,000 a year, and that's available. So next steps, we will be open for membership for vendors as of November, but right now we're looking for a pilot group, 5 to 10 vendors that want to participate now, test out the questionnaire, have a look at their scorecards, provide some feedback, and really participate in that process from now until the middle of November when we launch, and be that first group. It is a way that you can signal to the mining community that you actually care about security, that you're actively involved in identifying and fixing issues, and it is something that, you know, our hope is that a lot of operators will start steering their spend towards, you know, those vendors who are actively dealing with and working on cybersecurity and cybersecurity issues. So that's all I've got. I know we're coming up on time, so I will leave it there if there's any questions for Cherie or I.
There's a question in the chat, but I'm not sure if it was already answered. After gleaning this information from the vendor, do you report them back to the vendor?
Absolutely. We share that information with the vendor for sure. Like as a security scorecard tracks every IP address on the internet. So for the ones we're tracking against, we'll absolutely share that. And again, for those that participate, you'll have full live access to your report, so you can see everything we see and provide additional color commentary as you want to that data.
Perfect. Thank you, Rob. Do we have any questions for Cherie and Rob?
Hey, morning, folks. It's Mark from Caltire. Rob, or maybe this is something that's going to get posted anyway, Domenica. Rob, are you sharing your presentation?
I will.
Okay, I just want to bounce it off Cliff, our CIO internally. We may well be interested.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.